Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to see there's some happy early risers to inspire me. My name is Jane Williams. I'm the president of Portland Workforce Alliance. It's a great honor to be here. It's a great honor to be president of Portland Workforce Alliance. I've been part of this organization now for about 7 years, and every year I am so incredibly impressed by the number of amazing folks that come together to inspire youth in Oregon, which is exactly what you all do. So the breakfast today was started off by the Grant Blues. Did everyone hear that gorgeous sound coming out of this room? Thanks again for doing that. I think those students might be among us, so if you see them, please thank them for me. So I'm going to direct your attention to programs, and those are the slips of paper that you've got in front of you at your tables, maybe hiding underneath your breakfast or your coffee. We've got a few things to show you up above here other than me. There you go. Side profile, there's the nose. Awesome. Okay, moving on. This is a really wonderful opportunity, this breakfast. Even though it's an early start, I think it's really worthwhile to kick off the day in this way, getting to break bread together. If you look around the room, it's so impressive to see the names on all these tables, all the generous individuals and the generous organizations that have come together, that you're meeting students at your tables, so we're getting a chance to really get together and talk through some of the opportunities that are available in the schools from the students directly. We're also going to acknowledge all of the individuals and the organizations later on that have helped bring this event to be. 3 very important community leaders are here today, and I'm super excited that I can brag to my family that I've met them, and now you can too. We have Portland Police Chief Daniel Outlaw joining us today. Wonderful. She's up here at table 4. You'll get a chance to meet her. We also want to welcome, also at table 4, Dr. David Bangsberg, who is the founding dean of the OHSU-PSU School of Public Health. So thanks for being here. He got up much earlier than me this morning, he told me, also very impressive. And finally, the Portland Public Schools Superintendent, Guadalupe Guerrero, is here. Welcome. Table 4. Don't rush the table, they'll sign autographs later. Okay? All right. So as I said, this is a wonderful way to kick off the day, have some fun, meet other people who are like-minded, inspiring youth, making sure that the future of Oregon is bright. How many of you, by a quick show of hands, had somebody in your life who gave you a leg up or told you about an opportunity at some point that made a difference for you? Wow, there you go. Okay, so if you haven't got your hand up right now, you can after today because you have that opportunity. One more thing I want to do is I want to call your attention. There are students, more than half of students in Portland area are actually going to be coming in today to the expo. So if you have a chance after the breakfast, if you don't have to rush off, we really encourage you to pop downstairs and see. It is a really daunting sight to see so many inspiring kids coming in. 7,000 students will be here today. Let's take a look at what it looks like. I want to make sure I'm not rushing things, but we are going to show a 1-minute video to give you an idea of what happens downstairs. And one of the biggest things I want to share about this video is that it was made by Samuel Kidoguchi, who is a videography student at Wilson. So this was made by a student for students. Thank you to our videographers. Well, we have a wonderful program, so I'm going to get it started. But again, I want to thank everybody for being here, especially our honored guests at Table 4. We're going to hear from some wonderful students as well. If you'd like to really get a kick for today, go downstairs and check out the expo at the end of the breakfast. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to our next speakers.
Good morning, everyone. So they asked me to make sure everyone was alive and kicking and well. So when I say good morning, can you say? Good morning. All right, thank you. Everyone's among the land of the living here. I'm here to introduce everyone that you see on the stage, but first I'll introduce myself, right? I'm Gabby Riley. I serve as the board secretary, and I also work at ZGF Architects as a designer. And this morning we have 3 students. Sarah is from Jefferson High School, and then we have Susan from PWA, and is this Brice? Brice from Roosevelt High School, and we have Jeannie Yurkovich from PPS, and we have Matt Utterback from North Clackamas, and we have Tyson, right? Okay. One thing I want to say about Matt is that this past year he was recognized nationally as the Superintendent of the Year, so let's all give him a hand clap. And that's it for my piece. I'll turn it over to these awesome people on the stage.
Thank you, Gabby. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
It is early, isn't it?
It sure is.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay. My name is Sarah Steele, and I'm a junior at Jefferson High School Middle College.
Great. And at Jefferson, you're able to take classes both at the high school and at PCC next door. And can you talk about some of the classes you've been taking that allow you to think about careers and possibilities after high school?
Yes. Okay. So right now, a lot of juniors are enrolled in a program at our school actually called Beyond High School, which gets you ready for life beyond high school, like college, or if you don't want to go to college, just life beyond. We're working on resumes, and they've given us lots of scholarship help. They're willing to waive all of our fees. You can take PCC classes. You are required to have a certain amount of PCC credits to even graduate from Jefferson High School. And Ms. Belinsky has a biotech program at Jefferson High School that is paired with OHSU, and she's actually the person who gave me this opportunity to be up here today.
Ms. Belinsky, Laura Belinsky, is the career coordinator at Jefferson, and career coordinators at all of the high schools are just absolutely critical and instrumental in helping students connect with outside opportunities for exploration. So you had a chance to go to a career day. How did that come about?
I don't remember exactly how, but I believe Ms. Belinsky just asked me a few simple questions about what I was thinking about going into in my life, and I told her business and marketing and stuff like that. And then she came to me very personally with an opportunity to go to Wieden & Kennedy's career day. I honestly didn't know what Wieden & Kennedy was, but once I went there, I can tell you for sure now that I will be working there. That's what I want to do. So I'd just like to thank her because she genuinely changed my life.
So what is it about that morning and that experience that makes you feel that way? Tell us what it was like and what happened.
So I was nervous at first because not a lot of Jefferson students were at the career day. But as we first off, just the vibe of the room and just the creative space just felt so welcoming and warm. And then as we went along, we went to each specific, not category, but the different jobs that you can have at Wieden & Kennedy. I just didn't know that there was a place that so perfectly combined everything that I want to do with my life. It was every category we went to, I could see myself doing this, and it was just amazing.
What was your favorite part about the day?
Personally, so there is this part of White and Kennedy. It has a really nice design of the building, but in this certain part, you're allowed to bring in your dogs and they can just like free roam and like play with the other dogs. And like while we were doing interviews, they were just having the time of their lives. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that just sealed the deal. I was like, I have to be here.
One thing that you mentioned when we talked before is that you were surprised at the mixture of the creative side and the business side. Why did that matter to you, or what stood out to you about that?
Because I want to go into like, in my head, like a weird mixture of marketing and business. Like I'm not very creative. Like I can't make beauty like come out of my hands, but I can think of it kind of, but I would prefer to do the business side. And looking for colleges and stuff like that, it was hard to kind of find a nice combination of both. It seemed like you had to choose one or the other, but at Wine and Kennedy, they were just beautifully intertwined. Like, that's what I say when it was absolutely perfect. I didn't know that there was a place that so perfectly could be what I'd imagined in my head. And it just like, it really blew my mind and it's changed my life.
This is really what we hope for when we want, we have students have a chance to explore careers, are those aha moments. And sometimes they happen in healthcare, and sometimes they happen at a tech firm, sometimes they happen on a job site in a construction management company. It's all good. I think it's just having a chance to figure out what your spark is. And with that in mind, there's a lot of employers here who have done career days and welcome students behind their doors for job shadows or career days. Others are thinking about it. And so I guess my question is for you, why, if you're talking to the employers here, why do you think, what kind of impact can someone have in one day or one morning?
As I said, Wyden and Kennedy's career day like changed my life. So just imagining how many opportunities are going to be like sitting at these tables or like at these expos, you will change somebody's life. Like you're going to make their career, Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. You're at the White and Kennedy table, so you can just, get started on your get started right now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, good morning. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Brice. I'm going to let you tell them your name and which programs you're in. We'll start there.
I'm Brice Kaplan. I am from Roosevelt High School. I am a senior, and I'm doing construction this year.
Okay, so Brice, how did you get involved and interested in carpentry and construction?
Actually, I didn't want to be in construction at all until my junior year. So that's how I started. I started out wanting to do police work or being in the military. And then it just clicked that I was like, hey, might as well make twice as much and not get shot at.
Okay, we didn't talk about that.
Right?
Okay, let's go back. So what did you do at Roosevelt? What classes did you take at Roosevelt that sparked your interest in construction?
I took intro to carpentry as a junior, and then I enjoyed it so much that my carpentry teacher, Mr. Duckworth, he got me into the construction camp program at PNCI, which is Pacific Northwest Carpenters Institute.
It's a good shout out, table 30. Where are you over there, right? So talk a little bit about how they got you into the summer program and what it took to be accepted and the kind of work that you did once you were in the program.
To get accepted, it wasn't really that hard. It was more of like signing applications and then having someone from PNCI have a meeting with you about it. And that's what happened with mine. I got interviewed at PNCI for my internship. And we during my internship, we started cracking a couple jokes and stuff during it, which was funny and really good. And it was also it was also a serious talk though, too, which is good.
And what did you do specifically during the summer internship? What kind of skills did you learn?
I learned that teamwork is always safety, and teamwork also carries you through construction.
And when we were talking earlier, you also talked about communication and being able to talk to people as being an important part of that as well.
Yeah, about that also. Communication also helps because if you're talking to like your friend, you have to be noticing what you're doing also.
So what kinds of activities did they have you do specifically related to the construction industry while you were there?
While I was on my job site, they had me working with site service, which was safety and stuff. I was working with a team of 3 or 4, and I was specifically working with an apprentice the whole time I was there, working on building guardrails and safety and taking down handrails.
And did you know how to do any of that before the summer?
No, I didn't. No, I did not know.
Good learning experience for you then. And you're also involved in the ACE Mentor Program, Architecture, Construction, and Engineering. Can
Yes,
you talk
I
a
am.
little bit about what you do in ACE?
Right now we're working on a project for that post office that's off of Broadway, because that's going to be torn down. We're working a bunch of people or students are working on projects for that. We all have our own separate project that we have to work on, and it's about like we have to come up with our own design, and then we start out from like the designing part of like what it looks like, and then like the whole shape of it, and then we get into like the structure.
And what have you learned from ACE that you didn't know before?
That's a hard question. What have I learned from ACE? That it doesn't just start with building. It all starts with planning and what to do with that planning.
Awesome. So you're part of the PNCI pre-apprenticeship program. What are your plans after you graduate?
I am going to, after high school, I'm going to go straight into the union for carpentry as hopefully as a carpenter apprentice.
Perfect. Thank you, Brice. Appreciate it.
Good morning. It's my opportunity to introduce Tyson, who is a junior at Clackamas Middle College, which is a charter program in the North Clackamas School District. So Tyson, welcome. Thank you for being here. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it's like going to school at Clackamas Middle College?
At Clackamas Middle College, it's definitely quite the experience just getting ahead of the game from like regular high school, like jumping straight into college. The second year of high school, I was immediately taking college classes, and that was definitely a new experience for me.
Did you feel that, was that a big academic jump for you, or did you have some supports along the way that made that successful for you?
I felt like it was kind of a mix of both, where it was kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, where it's like, it was difficult at first. It definitely was, because the teachers there at CMC definitely treat you more like a college student rather than a regular high school student. And so you definitely got support from them. And then as soon as you progressed through the programs and got to CCC and started taking college classes, I mean, it was a little bit more difficult, but I was able to handle it.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how many college credits you're going to graduate with next year? Yeah. What you're on track for?
I should be able to graduate between 80 and 90 college credits. It's quite a few.
Yeah.
And then after that, I plan to go to Portland State.
Great. Yeah. So in February, you had the opportunity to go to the Simple Career Fair. Tell us about that.
The Simple Career Day, first of all, how I got dragged into it was my friend, she just like kind of brought me a piece of paper and was like, here. I asked her what it was, and she was like, it's called Simple Career Day. And I was like, well, why do you want me to go? And she's like, because you have a car. And she told me a little bit more about it, and I learned that it was pretty much a tech company, and to me, myself, I'm very into the technology type career field, and was like, okay, I guess I'll go. And it sounded like a really cool experience. And so when I went, I definitely got to learn a lot about the business itself, Simple, and how the people got there, and basically like their entire life stories of like where you don't really have to start off at one place and stick with that one career choice, you can definitely go back and have a second chance. And that's definitely one of the biggest things that I found interesting at Simple, is that like a good amount of them, it was basically their second chance at a career.
I know one of the things that you said is that by attending that event, it made you less worried about your next decision in your life,
Yes.
right? That you can maybe go and explore something in college, and it may end up being what you want to do for the rest of your life, but it may not, and that relieves some stress for you. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. What stood out to you at that event? The workplace environment. Was there anything that you thought was pretty neat?
So the workplace environment, it felt pretty laid back, where everyone felt at home, and it was almost like one big family, where like they had beanbag chairs, they had dogs roaming around, they had an entire kitchen layout with a fruit platter. It was it was a pretty laid back place.
That's awesome. You talked a little bit about what you want to do when you graduate from Clackamas Middle College. What are you thinking about going into right now?
So right now, I want to take computer science classes and get a bachelor's in computer science from potentially Portland State. And after that, they have a postgraduate certificate in cybersecurity. And with that, I want to go into the FBI. And in fact, this summer I am doing the FBI Youth Academy, and so yeah, I feel like that would be a very good experience.
Thank you, Tyson. You're well on your way to a successful adulthood. Congratulations.
Is it? Awesome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dina Martinez, and I'm a senior at Parkers High School. And I attended at Career Day at CGF Architects this year, and this is my second year at the ACE Mentor Program, which helped me to figure out that with my creative thoughts and my ability of art and design has my life to lead me to have one of the greatest goals in my life, that is to be an architect. Today, I'm honored to present, thank you. Today, I'm honored to present the Police Chief of Portland, Daniel Outlaw. Chief Outlaw came to Portland this fall from Oakland. She was chosen in a national search and now leads a force of nearly 1,000 people. She is the first African-American woman to serve as Portland's police chief. And she is committed. And she is committed to community policing. She started her journey in high school as a police explorer and continues it today. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Daniel Outlaw. Sorry.
Good morning. See, we are awake. We're alive and well. You got it. So I'll be brief. But first, I just want to thank everyone so much, especially PWA, for the opportunity to just come and speak today and share my very personal experience. It's no secret. When I got here, people asked, well, what got you here? You know, a lot of folks think that police chiefs grow up wanting to be police chiefs, and that certainly was not the case for me. I did not grow up, I mean, it is what it is. I didn't grow up admiring police. I just didn't. I came up during a time where law enforcement came into my home, took people away from me that I cared about and that I loved. And as young children, we don't really think about why our loved ones are taken away from us. We just know that someone who we love and care about very deeply are no longer in our homes. and the police represent that loss and that grief. Again, raised to respect authority at all time, no disrespect, but again, the perception and the relationship was not there. I didn't have a lot of military in my background. I had an uncle that went to the Air Force, and my dad served a short stint. But again, there was no legacy of anything military or paramilitary, and I didn't have a history of law enforcement in my family, which at that time when I started 20 years ago, that was the thing. If you had family in law enforcement, it was almost just natural. It was a natural progression to become a police officer or something in the law enforcement realm. So fast forward to my sophomore year in high school, we had the opportunity to do a 2-week career exploration. And there were so many different things that could be done, but the waiting list for the Oakland Police Department, by the way, I'm from Oakland, if you didn't know, Raiders, A's, Warriors, right. Although, I don't know, these Blazers, you know, they're trying to get me. They're trying to get me. But anyway, I'm from Oakland and lived in Oakland, went to high school in Oakland, and there was an opportunity, a 2-week career exploration opportunity. And there used to always be these long waiting lists for the Oakland Police Department. Never wanted to do it because, like I said, it wasn't just, I just wasn't familiar with the police, and I didn't see the police as favorable, friendly people. I just didn't. So a girlfriend of mine, actually a group of girlfriends said, hey, look, the slots are open. We should sign up for it. And I said, for what? I can go do something like art or, you know, just something that didn't seem that I had to think a lot because we saw that 2-week career exploration period. I'm going to be honest with you, at the time, it's just, we didn't have to do homework. There were no papers due. And I just wanted to have fun. And that seemed like something I had to put a lot of thought and attention to. So anyway, signed up, and lo and behold, I got selected. And I will tell you that those 2 weeks changed my life. Not just because I'm standing before you here today as a police chief, but I had an opportunity to see police officers in a completely different way. I learned the inner workings of the Oakland Police Department in 2 short weeks, whether it's on the administrative side or even on the operational side. I had the opportunity to go on ride-alongs in the neighborhoods where I lived. I met police officers and learned that they laughed and they joked and they ate at all the same places that I ate or had eaten. And I saw them for who they were as human beings. And it wasn't until then that I said, oh, this is a career and a profession that I might just be willing to consider. Willing to consider. So at the end of those 2 weeks, I was invited to attend an Explorer meeting. And at that time, the Police Explorers, they were coordinated through the Oakland Police Department, but they were part of the Boy Scouts of America. And they said to me, oh, you can wear this cool uniform. Now, it was the brownest, muddiest uniform that you can think of. On the fashion scale, it was probably about a 0. But they told us, we had this thing, this huge thing where all the young kids and young people would come together every year called the Festival at the Lake. And it was the place where you can go to be seen, and you know, it's what young people do. And they said, as an explorer, you can not only wear your uniform, but you get to work at the Festival at the Lake. And I said, oh, let me check it out then. So I started going to the meetings, and before I'd known it, they'd suck me in and I'd become a police explorer. And I had the opportunity to further the career exploration that had begun over that 2-week time period. So fast forward, I'm graduating from high school, and OPD taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, guess what? Did you also know that we have something called a police cadet program? And you can do the same thing that you did as a police explorer, but you get paid for it. And at that time, I said, what, $10 an hour? I thought I was rich. $10 an hour, and I get a uniform, but it's not the muddy brown uniform. It's the light blue uniform with the blue pants, with the stripe down the side, and I get a cool belt. And I get to work at the Festival at the Lake. So I said, why not? So my entire undergraduate career in college, I worked as a police cadet. So it's safe to say that OPD pretty much had their claws in me from the time I was 14 years old. And I say that because it was very smart. They knew what they were doing and that they established their pipeline early on. And it wasn't necessarily with those that they knew wanted to be cops. It was those from the communities in which they wanted to serve and connect with, and they knew would add value, but they had to make believers first. So I'm saying all that to say, sometimes those of us just need an opportunity. We need to get our foot in the door. We don't know what we don't know. As a young 13, 14-year-old, I didn't know, what the police did or who they were. All I knew was that of my personal experiences growing up. I didn't know the other side of it, and it wasn't until I had the opportunity to get inside of the police department that I saw a completely different light. And I would like to say that I'm a prime example of what, if given the opportunity to thrive, what the result can be. So thank you. Young people, keep dreaming, keep hoping. Don't say you don't like it before you do it. Give it a try. You never know where you might end up. And to the employers in the room, I would like to thank you for giving opportunities to the young people as well, because you never know what they can do. They're some of the most intelligent people on this planet, and we tend to kind of shut them down every now and again because we think they're young. But they have some of the most ideas, the most vibrant ideas that contribute to what we're all trying to do today. We're all working towards the same goal. So thank you very much. And Brice, where are you? I won't forget you. So my youngest son is Brice. He's a junior in high school, and it's not too late. I believe in poaching. Have a good one.
Hi, my name is Brenda. I'm a junior at Franklin High School, and I've had the chance to take health CTE classes and attend career days at Kaiser, Providence, and OHSU, and the Kaiser KPS summer program. Having these experiences has helped me identify my interests, network, and get a hands-on experience I can't get in the class. I plan on attending college and hope to work in the medical field in my future.
Hello, my name is Moses Tran, and I'm a senior at Benson and also serve as the student representative on the school board. What I value about attending Benson is our teachers' dedication to be able to individually enhance all of our personal skill sets and our different learning styles so that we can intern at schools, at OHSU and Kaiser, and other, and visit the nursing lab at Concordia so that we're able to have real life experiences and professionally network that we wouldn't get at any other schools, especially coming from a diverse population in our underserved community. So, without further ado, it is our pleasure to introduce Dr. Bangsberg. He is the founding dean of the new school, Public School of Health for OHSU and Portland State University. Dr. Bangsberg grew up in Portland and attended Lincoln High School. And he remembers running for office while he was in high school and getting beat by his classmate named Ted Wheeler. Perhaps some of you may know of him.
Dr. Bangsberg began his career studying neuroscience, then switched to public health. He has studied at Johns Hopkins, taught at Harvard, and has worked all over the world on health problems such as HIV, addiction, and homelessness. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Bangsberg.
Thank you, Brenda and Moses. Good morning. It's a pleasure to celebrate the great work of the Portland Workforce Alliance and how you are supporting the lives of young people. Today I'd like to tell a few stories of how some gentle life advice and encouragement changed my life. When I was in grade school, the other kids called me Booger. I had allergic rhinitis with impacted mucus, and I had a green booger in my right nostril. Sorry, it's breakfast, it's gross, I know. To make matters worse, there was only one other student who was as bad at sports as I was. We were always picked last when the teams formed at recess. I didn't like going to recess, so I stayed inside class and did an art project or read. I had a teacher, Sandra Morris, in 5th grade. She was grading her papers. She came and sat next to me, and she said, "Someday, you're going to be a leader." I looked around because she couldn't have been talking to me, but there was no one else in the room. Then I made it to Lincoln High School. By an administrative error, I was put in John Flanagan's chemistry class, which was notoriously the hardest class at Lincoln High School. I was the first day of freshman year. He said, "If you all study 30 minutes a day, you're going to do just fine." So I studied about an hour a day. He would put 3 problems on the board, a hard one, a harder one, and an impossible one. And one day, he said, got to the impossible one. He said, "Let's see if the freshmen can do it." So I got up, wrote out the answer, got the answer right. Everyone said, "He's a freshman?" Finally, I found something I could do well. The other thing that was happening at the time was I was making some not so good decisions that involved marijuana. I would go in and do my homework early in the morning, and John Flanagan would sit down and have coffee with me. One morning he said, "David, you have a lot to offer this world. I hope that marijuana doesn't get in the way." I didn't think about it that day so much, but I thought about it every day for the next 40 years. He introduced me to OMSI. He helped me get a lab job at OHSU neuroscience lab, and several years later, I'm at Johns Hopkins Medical School, pursuing an MD and a PhD with a full scholarship. I wanted to be a brain surgeon, even cure brain disease. Little did I know that Baltimore would change that. There was a new disease in Baltimore and many other cities called HIV/AIDS. We didn't know how it made you sick at the time, but we knew that if you had a diagnosis, a positive diagnosis, you had about 6 months left to live. I started testing gay men, drug users, in a free clinic. I tested 8 people HIV negative before I met Paul. Paul was a young gay man who wasn't feeling well, had a cough, and his friend said, "You gotta go in and get tested." He came in, I sat him down and explained what the test was. I made a inappropriate, kind of awkward joke. I said, "Don't worry, everyone I test is HIV negative." Drew his blood and gave him an anonymous ID number with a date to return. He returned a week later, sat him down, gave me his card, looked at the number, checked the number with a code book, checked it again, checked it a third time. And there it said, HIV positive. I tried to explain what that meant, but I don't think he heard a single word. He was feeling worse. So we brought him to Johns Hopkins Hospital that night. And I visited him every day for the next 3 weeks until he died of pneumocystis pneumonia. All of a sudden, being a brain surgeon or even curing a brain disease didn't seem that important to me. So I dropped out of my PhD program, gave up my scholarship, to care for the Pauls of the world. Made it up to North Harlem and in San Francisco, and shortly after arriving in San Francisco, which was the mecca for learning how to treat patients with HIV, treatment changed. Miracle drugs were developed that turned HIV from a death sentence to a manageable chronic disease. But not everyone received treatment. Many people thought if you gave these miracle medications to the homeless, to the mentally ill, to drug users, often people with dark skin, that they wouldn't be able to take their medications and the virus would replicate, become resistant to these medications, and then that resistant virus could be spread to a larger population. We set up a program to learn how to treat the homeless, the mentally ill, drug users. Eventually we found that through case management that linked people to housing, linked people to drug treatment, linked people to mental health treatment, we could raise HIV treatment rates from 9% up to 90%. But the most, 90% of the epidemic wasn't in San Francisco, it was in sub-Saharan Africa. And prices of these miracle drugs had come down to the point where treatment was economically viable, even in rural Africa. But no one was being treated. Started working with a medical school in rural southwest Uganda. In their HIV clinic, they had 5,000 people living with HIV, and not a single one was treated. So this isn't right. Let's try to raise some money so we can at least put one person on treatment. Maybe we can put them on treatment for 5 years. And that 5 years, if they have a 5-year-old, that 5-year-old will live to be a 10-year-old with their parent. So we did. We went to the clinic and said, we have enough money to treat one person for 5 years. Who should we treat? The doctors and nurses, the community health leaders got together, they debated, they discussed, and they picked this man here, Elijah Muzunguzi. Elijah led a song and a dance troupe that would teach people about HIV prevention. They would sing songs about a woman who found out that she was HIV positive after coming back from prenatal clinic. And then tell the story of her telling her husband that she was positive and tell the story of her husband beating her afterwards. And then they would sing to the village, where did she get HIV? She got it from her husband. Why would he give her HIV and then beat her for it? The clinic said if we will help Elijah, Elijah will help others. He was dying of tuberculosis, meningitis. We put him on treatment. He got better, and after a few months, he was strong. He led our treatment program, which eventually put 2,000 people on HIV treatment. Not only did he do that, he taught each family how to build a chicken coop to help raise themselves out of poverty. The clinic was right. If we help Elijah, Elijah will help others. We're not only impressed with how well Elijah did, but every patient we put on treatment did well. We studied how they took their medications and never missed a dose. We published our first few dozen patients in a medical journal. And then I got a phone call. Hello, this is Donald McNeil from the New York Times. I said, hi, this is David Bangsberg from San Francisco General Hospital. How can I help you? He said, I read your study. Do you think it's true? I said, yeah. Wouldn't publish it otherwise. And I explained why. And then 2 days later, I heard a familiar earth thump on our doorstep. It was the New York Times in a blue wrapper. Opened up the blue wrapper. There it was. Front page, left-hand slide. Next slide, please. Below the fold, Africans outdo U.S. patients in following AIDS therapy. And now 19 million people are living with HIV worldwide with normal life expectancies. And now I return to Portland, my hometown, when there are neglected epidemics just like HIV. 1/3 of Oregon women have depression. We have more deaths due to suicide and overdoses than road traffic accidents. Many of the suicides are middle-aged men who take their lives with a gun. A pregnant woman with 2 minimum wage jobs has such high levels of stress hormones that those stress hormones are rewiring her baby's brain to make that child at risk for anxiety, depression, learning disorders, which also make that child have a hard time in school, at risk for substance use. Also increases the risk for cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, and suicide. We have homelessness in not only every neighborhood in Portland, but nearly every neighborhood throughout Oregon. And we have been far too slow to address the impact of racism, Islamophobia, and other forms of hatred as a public health issue. So where do we start? Well, I start with the same place that Sandra Morris, my 5th grade teacher, and John Flanagan, and my high school chemistry teacher, started with me. I start with coffee with my students, looking for an opportunity to give a word of encouragement or for some gentle life advice. I had coffee with a student last year. His name is Travis Henke. I had coffee with Travis, and I said, Travis, he's in the OHSU-PSU School of Public Health, studying health sciences, and he says, I'm gonna go to medical school, and I wanna specialize in transgender medicine. I said, that's cool. Tell me why. How did you get interested in that? He said, I grew up in Port Angeles, Washington, a small town. My dad came out as a woman when I was 8 years old. He couldn't get medical care. He lost his job. He was driven out of town, and I don't know if he's alive today. I want to go into transgender medicine so no one has to go through what my father went through. I said, that's a great idea. Let me help. Looked at his grades. He did really well in his grades. He did really well in his MCATs. I said, all right, come up to my office. I want to show you something. Came up in my office, and I showed him my Harvard Medical School rejection letter. I said, yes, you should apply to OHSU, but you should add one more school to that list. The worst that can happen is you get one of these. And so he did. Last week, Travis was admitted to Harvard Medical School. With a full scholarship. Not only the first person in his family to go to medical school, but the first person in his family to go to college. That's where we start. I am all in to make the OHSU-PSU School of Public Health the premier destination in Oregon for anyone who wants to get into a health-related career. Doctor, nurse, dentist, pharmacist, community health worker, health policy. We even have a program in lactation coaching, teach moms and babies how to breastfeed. Good for moms, good for babies, and it makes $37 an hour after graduation. We hope to create that space such that we can give that kind word of encouragement or that gentle bit of life advice to help promote the health and well-being of all of Oregon. I'm in. I am all in. I hope you are too. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Anna Yates. I've been involved with PWA for over 8 years as an exhibitor, as a career day host, and currently serve on the PWA board as executive vice president. We're heading into one of my favorite parts of the breakfast. Table discussions are an opportunity to get to know those you are sitting with and build community. There are about 100 students here at the breakfast today. Some have been involved in career exploration, and some are here to learn more. Many students are sitting with employers that align with their career interests, but since this day is about exploration, many of them are not. Table discussions are an opportunity to hear about the students' experiences, as well as their career aspirations. As you listen to the students' stories, I encourage you to think about that one thing you can do as an individual or as an organization to get involved to ensure all students have the skills and the education they need to prepare them for the world ahead. Table leaders will help facilitate the conversations. There are instructions on each table, just like this. If you're unsure who your table leader is, if the basket's in front of you, you just became a table leader. We're short on time, and so unfortunately we're going to have to cut the table discussions a little bit short. So we're looking at about 5 minutes. So head towards it. We'll dim the lights when we're time to come back and congregate. Thank you. As always happens, table discussions run a little longer than we hoped or wished for. I encourage all of you to continue these discussions after the program. We've had the opportunity this morning to hear firsthand from community leaders and our students, and hear about how important the work that PWA does to help shape not only our future, their futures, but the future of our city and our state. Our business model is to have a small staff and low overhead so that we direct as much of our energy and resources towards students. This means we rely heavily on the people in this room, as volunteers, as sponsors, as donors, and as advocates. We know that schools are trying to do more with less, and we know that all of you are here today because you want to support our students. PWA is here to help bridge that gap, but to do that, we need you. This is your call to action. On your table is information on ways to donate time and money, the two things that PWA needs to serve more students. Today is a great day to sign up for a monthly newsletter, make an individual donation, or let us know you're willing to volunteer. Everyone who completes a response card or submits their business card will be entered into a drawing for one of our fabulous door prizes. Thanks to the Blazers and the Timbers, you'll have the opportunity to win Blazer tickets, Timbers, and Thorns tickets. Table leaders, this is your last job for the morning. Please collect the response cards and business cards and leave them in the envelope at the table. Thank you for your support today, for your continued support of PWA. We cannot do this work without you.
Hello everyone, I'm Kelly Jorgensen. I'm a senior at Grant High School. I went to the Career Expo my sophomore year and really got a hands-on experience with everything they had there. Everybody was super friendly. I want to be a firefighter, and I recently got to go in the fall to the firefighting career day. I got to be able to see what I needed to do better with physically and mentally to set goals for my future. I really want to be a firefighter because I want to be somebody that you can meet once and never forget. I want to help. I want to do something that I can actually say I love.
Good morning. I'm Jeremy London. I go to Franklin High School in Southeast Portland, and I'm a junior. Last month, I got the opportunity to attend Simple Career Day. And with Simple, they are online banking, and it was really great to go to their facility because they have a very unique environment, and it's a very unique type of online banking. And what I really liked about that, we got to talk to a panel of different people that worked there in different careers, and one thing that really stood out to me is that they said, when I first entered, I changed my major multiple times, and even when I got my graduate degree, I took a different path and went, and specifically they one of the engineers that created the layout for the mobile apps. Today, it is our pleasure to introduce Guadalupe Guerrero, the new superintendent of Portland Public Schools. His own career path began as an English language learner and a young musician. He had teachers and mentors along the way who sparked his interest in education. He came to Portland last fall from San Francisco schools, where he oversaw instruction, innovation, and social justice. Today, he says he is very optimistic about the future of Portland schools.
Ladies and gentlemen, Superintendent Guerrero.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you to our students. I know we got a little bit of time to speak with them. I think we have to keep our students' voice at the center of all that we do. And I hope you're all looking forward to getting a chance to interact with them a little bit more as we jump into the job fair part of the conversation. As I share some brief remarks, before I commence, I do want to acknowledge Board of Education directors who are here this morning with us. I have three, Rita Moore, Amy Constam, Paul Anthony. Did anyone else sneak in? You always have to acknowledge your bosses. So they're here. And I think they appreciate what I appreciate, that we have this gathering here this morning and throughout the day, and frankly, every other day of the year, where you see this intersection of students who are motivated. Clearly, they got up early to be here because they want to exercise some agency. I think our youth want to discover their spark. They want to pursue their passion. And the generation today really wants to try a lot of things. And I heard in the speakers before me how much that one conversation made a difference. That mentor that said, there's a way, there's an opportunity, why don't you try? Come over here. And for students who, on a chance sometimes, checked it out, and what a difference that made. So sometimes it might seem a little bit like serendipity. I heard in even our youth who were speaking here earlier on stage say, I want to do something meaningful with my life. I want to make this a better world. And I think I saw that in one of the initial cover slides around making a world of difference. We certainly heard that from very impressive speakers who were up here this morning about the difference they're making in our world, and they understand how we've got to continue to perpetuate that kind of leadership if we are going to improve here on earth for all of us. So, message to our students, I know you know this and you can appreciate this, but please take full advantage of the opportunity that you have today. Extend that handshake, introduce yourself. I know you're doing that with confidence already. Have conversations with folks that maybe you might not otherwise get a chance to meet, except on a day like this. Gather some business cards, send that email, send a card, a message. You never know where one door is going to lead you. So take full advantage of the opportunity to have those kinds of interactions. And as a message to our partners, to you leaders of business, to you captains of enterprise, thank you for your commitment to interact with our students, to have that conversation that could make the difference, for sharing about your profession. And I think what's particularly powerful, and we heard some examples of today, is what is it that motivates you in this work? Because there's something universal about what you're sharing. It may not be the vocation necessarily, but it's about what makes you tick as a human being and why you pursue your life's work and the reason why you do that. And I think folks are searching for that meaningful way to spend their lives and find a livelihood where they're able to do that and make that kind of an impact. And so it's much more than just a job fair. I think we heard earlier also, that educator, that mentor that made a difference. For many of our youth, they may not necessarily have that at home. Sometimes it's not even at school. Sometimes it's not even outside of school. And sometimes it's just moments like these where that one conversation can really make a difference. So I don't want folks to underestimate that. I know you don't. But opportunities like today, I really want to thank PWA for making this annual event possible. This is a fantastic showing. I know that there's going to be a lot of students very excited to participate in the activities today. And I know we're going to have a lot of questions and maybe came here with not a concrete idea of what the outcome might be, but I think through the exploration and the conversations might actually think about trying something on for size. And it might lead to something else. But there's some things that you're going to learn along the way, even as those of us who have strings of jobs that are going to be more transferable. It's those communication skills. It's those interpersonal abilities. It's that confidence to present yourself, to demonstrate that you have some critical thoughts and opinions about the world. And after all, that's really what we want to encourage in public education. It's becoming a very blurry line. And what I'm appreciating about this event is that our high schools in particular have to be much more broad in their approach about how we're serving our students. We certainly want to prepare them to have the option of pursue a college pathway, but we also want to prepare our students to explore and have career pathways. And public schools can't do that alone. We need the leaders of industry locally, like all of you that are here today, to create some of those on-ramps. And so public schools everywhere around the country are having to reimagine and rethink how we create those partnerships. We're doing that ourselves right now in Portland Public Schools, ourselves as a team. How do we make sure and be very strategic about making sure opportunities like these are afforded just as part of the day-to-day experience in our high schools for our students? And this is why career technical education is taking such an important role right now in our high schools, because our students, they're critical consumers, and they should be. We want to make sure, and we're providing those kinds of pathways, those kinds of opportunities to think about what is the thing that is going to engage you and motivate you, not just to get across the graduation stage, but to see yourself in a role beyond high school, in whatever spark ignites within you to pursue. And really, that's what this is about. It's about that lifelong learning. And supporting our students to find those routes for their future. So we have work to do in public education. We're getting much better at making those connections with business leaders and other sectors, and this is a great opportunity to continue doing that. So we really count on all of your continued support, especially in connecting with our students, many of whom might not otherwise get the exposure. I'm particularly mindful of our historically underserved students and can so really appreciate when opportunities like these come up, because they might not otherwise ever get a chance to interact with leaders such as yourselves. So thank you for that. So I wanted to express my appreciation. Thank you for the role that you play, and express to you how important I realize that this partnership between business and leaders of our community and the public schools is in making sure we're cultivating leaders of the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent Guerrero and the whole team at PPS. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing, and we're glad that you're here. Thank you. I'm Susan, representing PWA, and this is the part of the program where we do some special recognition. We want to start with someone who is very special and near and dear to all of us, and that's Kevin Jeans Gale, our founding executive director. He's not able to be with us here today physically, but he is in Portland, and I know he's thinking about all of you right now. I've heard Kevin talk to high school students a lot, and one thing that I've heard him say to high school students is that there's a place for you in this world. There's a place for each and every one of you in this world, a good place, and it takes work to find it. So good for you, he would say. Good for you for doing that work and getting started today. And that's really the key, is just getting started. For the adults in this room, I know that most of you know Kevin, and many of you got involved with the organization because of him. And I wish there were a way to convey how much good Kevin has done and continues to do for so many people. But I do know we're recording the breakfast. Thank you, Sam, from Wilson High School, and we'll be able to show that to him. So with that in mind, since he'll see this breakfast today, why don't we give Kevin, show him some love, and give him a little round of applause to convey our thanks. our thanks for his good work. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brooke.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. I'm Brooke Bergland. I'm the incoming president for PWA. I work for Portland General Electric, and I've been involved with PWA for, I think, going on 8 years now. The value that PWA brings to students' lives should not be understated. I am the daughter of a teacher who taught by choice with her first school as one of the most challenging middle schools in the Salem-Keizer School District, and I saw firsthand the importance of having a mentor to students that hadn't yet figured out their path in life, and how important it was to have somebody who could really help guide them. So with that, I want to thank all of our folks. I get to be the thank you person for everything. So we're going to start by thanking the sponsors that we have for our breakfast today. This wouldn't be possible. For those of you who have gone to this breakfast for many years, you will be pleasantly surprised with the bacon and egg choice. So huge round of applause for a real breakfast. I want to specifically thank Baron Lieberman, Providence, and Tonkin Torp for being our breakfast sponsors for this year. And then moving on to our expo sponsors, we have our platinum sponsors, which are all listed here, as well as our table sponsors for this event as well for the breakfast. So thanks to all of you guys for continuing to support PWA financially with your time, and also by participating in the expo as well. So we can get a thank you for our expo sponsors and also for our table sponsors this year as well. And then moving on to the expo, this is our largest participation in terms of booths we've ever had. We grew last year to a bigger space, and we're continuing to grow. I'm not going to list individually all of the different departments that you see here, but you guys can see that we have a really broad mix of offerings for our students coming. So arts and communication and technology, healthcare, manufacturing, transportation, construction and design, public and human health services. We have such a wide variety of opportunities for our students to really explore things that they might have not thought about. I previously worked for the Port of Portland up until a couple of months ago, and the students that came through our booth oftentimes were students who had never thought that the port was even a career option for them, and we see that with all of our vendors. So some students come in and they have exactly know what they want to do. Many of them don't. When I was in high school, I was convinced I was going to be a psychologist. I have very much not ended up in that career path, and thank goodness I didn't, for all those future potential patients of mine. So it's a good opportunity to really kind of see like what it's like. Try on a welding helmet, see if that's going to be something that would be a good career option for you. Sit in a police car. There's a whole bunch of really great opportunities that I wish that I would have had when I was in high school. So our students have some really great opportunities for them today. And then our mock interviews, volunteers. I just want to thank everybody who is volunteering to be a mock interviewer today. Raise of hands, anybody in the room? I know a couple folks are coming in later. So for those of you guys that are volunteering to be a mock interviewer today, thank you. I wish that I would have had that experience, and as somebody who has hired many high school students, I wish that they would have also had that experience as well. So it's a great opportunity to kind of test your skills, see what works, what doesn't work. Chugging a whole gallon of Diet Coke, super awesome skill, probably not something that should go on a resume. For the students in the room, don't ever put that on your resume. And then I would also like to thank our year-round sponsors who are providing those career experiences that you guys heard so much about. What a great opportunity for our students to be able to come into an environment, see what it's like. We already apparently have somebody all lined up at Wyden and Kennedy who's going to start the second she gets out of college. So it's a really good opportunity for our students to see what those different environments are like, and we thank you for giving your time and welcoming students into your homes. And then lastly, I would like to thank our education partners. For any of our education partners in the room, can you just stand up one more time? So our superintendents, teachers, career counselors, stand up just for a second so we can recognize your hard work. We are very thankful for the work that you guys do in helping get students through to experiences and to the guidance that you guys provide them. They're a generation of our future, and we want to make sure that we're aligning them with some really great opportunities to do so. And then our foundation and funders, this is what really keeps us going. So thank you to all of the foundations and funders that really help PWA continue to operate. We have a really amazing staff that work very, very hard to do what they do, and we would not be able to do it without the sponsorship of these wonderful folks. And then our elected officials that are in the room. One more time for our any of our board members that are in the room from Portland Public Schools or any of our other school districts. And then any other elected officials that are not on there that we seem to always forget, because I've done a million of these and it always seems to happen, we forget somebody. So my apologies if somebody is here that's not on here. But stand up for those elected officials in the room, please. And lastly, I would like to thank my fellow board members for their time, for supporting PWA. This is really an effort that takes a lot of teamwork. I have an amazing group of people that sit on the board with me that bring amazing ideas and great thoughts and innovative ways to engage new employers into our conversation. So all of my PWA board members, please stand. And then finally, I want to give an extra thank you to the PWA staff. Putting on both a breakfast and a major event all in one day is a lot of work. They put together some really amazing things for our students throughout the year, and I am incredibly thankful, and I know the rest of the board is as well. So Susan, George, Kristen, where are my PWA people? Stand, please. Wave something. Sherry in the back. So thank you guys again for all of the support and for attending the breakfast this morning. Please swing by downstairs and just take a quick through, even if you're not able to stay for the whole event, so that you're able to just see the energy and the students that are arriving and the excitement behind it. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Jane for the final thank you.
Don't adjust your set, it's just my skirt. All right, thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate the time you've spent. Table 4, wow, I'm just incredibly impressed with all of you. Thank you again for your support in the tables, whether you've left a business card, whether you've left a donation, you've given us your contact information so we can ping you for some time. Thank you for being here. We're incredibly honored to have you all. Please enjoy your day, and hopefully you'll see some great kids downstairs. Thank you.